She walked into the restaurant like a secret carried by the wind, a woman who instantly drew every pair of eyes without saying a single word. Her presence was undeniable, her elegance so sharp it seemed out of place in the small-town diner. A long silk scarf draped over her shoulders, her shoes quietly tapped against the floor, and her face remained calm, though her eyes betrayed something deeper, something fragile. She was a mystery that no one in the room was prepared for. The chatter softened, the clinking of forks slowed, and all attention shifted toward this stranger who looked as though she belonged to another world. When she finally opened her mouth, the words that came out were soft, melodic, and completely incomprehensible to everyone around her. Japanese. A language nobody else in the room understood. Her tone was polite, her gestures delicate, but the staff behind the counter exchanged puzzled looks. One tried to guess by pointing to the menu, another offered a glass of water, but her words went unanswered. The atmosphere began to thicken with awkwardness. Some customers chuckled under their breath. One man whispered, "What's she even doing here?" while another muttered something about rich tourists. The woman's eyes lowered. She pointed gently at a picture on the menu, but the server misinterpreted, bringing her something entirely different. She shook her head quietly, her frustration rising, but she never raised her voice. Her dignity remained intact, though every second of silence between her and the staff seemed to cut into her pride. The murmurs around her grew louder, and the invisible wall of language stood firm between her and everyone else. Her shoulders slumped ever so slightly as she reached for her bag, perhaps ready to leave without tasting a single bite. That was when a clear voice cut through the noise. A young waitress, who had been silently watching from a corner, stepped forward. She greeted her in fluent, careful Japanese, and the room went still. The woman's head snapped up, her eyes widened, and for the first time that night, her expression softened with relief. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, and the heaviness in the room seemed to dissolve in an instant. The waitress's name was Emily. She was not wealthy, not glamorous, just an ordinary girl in a faded uniform with tired eyes from endless double shifts. Yet she carried with her a gift. Years ago, in college, she had studied Japanese, though she had never imagined it would matter in her small town. Now, standing in front of this lost stranger, she spoke each word slowly and carefully, as though offering a bridge between two worlds. The transformation was immediate. The elegant woman straightened in her seat, her voice steadier now as she explained what she wanted to order. Emily translated for the cook, ensuring every detail was understood. The kitchen staff and customers looked on in astonishment. A barrier had been broken. The whispers stopped, and a quiet respect replaced the earlier judgment. As Emily continued the conversation, she learned the woman's name, Mrs. Nakamura. She had come to America not for business or luxury, but for solitude. Her voice trembled slightly when she admitted how exhausting it was to live surrounded by people who only saw her wealth and nothing else. She longed for a simple meal, a real connection, just one moment of being understood without judgment. Emily nodded gently, her heart tightening. She was no stranger to hardship either. While she didn't share her story yet, she felt the weight of the woman's words pressing into her own memories of long nights, sacrifices, and the sting of being unseen. She smiled, translating softly, guiding Mrs. Nakamura's order, watching her shoulders finally relax, but just when Emily thought the moment would end with gratitude and food, something unexpected happened. As the meal was placed in front of her, Mrs. Nakamura reached across the table and touched Emily's hand. Her voice lowered to a whisper, her words deliberate, almost secretive. The language barrier was gone now, but the words she chose carried more than meaning, they carried weight. Emily froze, listening intently. Her eyes widened, her lips parted in shock, and her breath caught in her throat. She never imagined a stranger would share something so intimate, so heavy, after only a few minutes of trust. In that moment, Emily realized that this encounter was far from ordinary. It wasn't just about a meal, or a translation, or even kindness. Mrs. Nakamura had come to this place carrying a secret that had followed her across oceans, and she had chosen Emily, out of everyone in the world, to hear it. Emily pulled her hand back slowly, her heart racing, questions flooding her mind. Why her? Why now? She searched Mrs. Nakamura's eyes for answers, but all she saw was a quiet plea, a loneliness that no amount of money could fill. And though she wanted to ask more, to demand clarity, she knew this was only the beginning of a story far bigger than herself. As the restaurant returned to its rhythm, and the other customers pretended not to stare, Emily stood there with her mind reeling. She had stepped forward to help a stranger, but in doing so, she had unlocked a door that would lead her into a story of love, betrayal, and secrets buried beneath years of silence. The night was no longer ordinary. It had transformed into something that neither of them would ever forget, and Emily sensed, with an ache in her chest, that her life was about to change in ways she could not yet imagine.
The elevator doors slid shut on Vanessa's panicked face, her knockoff heels clicking a frantic retreat down the marble hallway. Aaliyah didn't watch her go. She was already halfway across the rooftop, the city skyline bowing at her feet, the 10-carat diamond on her right hand pulsing like a heartbeat under the strobes. The DJ had Formation on loop now, the bass vibrating in every ribcage, and the crowd, Marcus's crowd, had flipped allegiance faster than a trending hashtag. Phones were out, live streams rolling, comments flooding. She owned and plot twist of the year, Black Excellence loading. Marcus stood frozen by the bar, tux jacket askew, champagne soaking his Italian loafers. His boys had melted into the shadows. Even the bartender looked away. Aaliyah raised her glass to the room, voice cutting clean through the music. To the man who taught me the difference between a partner and a parasite. Laughter rippled, sharp and delicious. She sipped, let the bubbles burn, then set the flute down untouched. Evelyn Carter glided up beside her, crimson suit lethal, tablet glowing with live updates. MK Holdings just dissolved, Evelyn murmured. IRS lien filed at 11:47 p.m. Credit bureaus pinged at 11:49. He's radioactive. Aaliyah's smile was small, satisfied. Good. Let him feel the freeze. Marcus finally found his legs. He shoved past a cluster of former investors, face twisted. This is fraud. You can't. His voice cracked like cheap glass. Aaliyah turned, slow, regal. Fraud? Baby, I have receipts audits. 47 forgeries, remember? She nodded to the projector. The screen cycled through damning slides. Marcus's signature looping like a bad tattoo, wire transfers timestamped during business trips that were actually Miami hotel romps. Vanessa's Venmo history lit up with $5,000 gifts labeled marketing. The crowd hissed. Someone yelled, "Expose him." Aaliyah lifted a brow. Already did. She stepped closer to Marcus, close enough to smell fear under his cologne. You filed first because you thought I'd beg. You threw this party because you thought I'd hide. Her voice dropped, velvet over steel. I don't beg. I bill. She snapped her fingers. Security, Annie Ruth and Annie Gloria, both ex-cops, both in custom tuxedos, flanked Marcus before he could twitch. Ruth's grip on his elbow was polite but final. Sir, the lady's done talking. Marcus tried to jerk free. Gloria's stare shut him down. The room watched, hungry for the next course. Aaliyah returned to center stage. The music dipped, respectful. She opened the velvet folder herself this time, fanned the deeds like playing cards. 103 properties, condos in Hyde Park, lofts in Fulton Market, the Bronzeville 6 flat that started it all, each stamped sole owner, Aaliyah Monroe. She let the silence stretch, then spoke direct to camera. These aren't just buildings. They're blood, sweat. Nights I skipped dinner to crunch numbers while he networked at strip clubs. Every brick is mine. She turned a page. And this, a single sheet slid free, fluttering to the floor in front of Marcus, is the quick claim you forged last month for the Oak Brook mansion. No. Void. Mine. Marcus lunged for the paper. Auntie Ruth intercepted, folding him like laundry. The crowd roared approval. Aaliyah didn't flinch. She lifted the diamond ring, letting light fracture across the ceiling. Y'all keep asking where I got this. Truth? I melted the lie he called a wedding band. 10 carats of closure. She slipped it off, held it up. But closure's boring. Legacy's better. The screen flipped again. Monroe Legacy Fund in bold gold. Seed, $500,000. Mission, full-ride scholarships for Black women in real estate. First recipient, Jada Monroe, Aaliyah's 16-year-old niece, already flipping virtual properties on Roblox. The room lost it. Someone started a Monroe. Mole Champ. Aaliyah let it wash over her, eyes shining. Not tears, triumph. Vanessa's absence registered like a missing tooth. Word spread fast. She'd bolted to the parking garage, tried to hotwire Marcus's Range Rover, got caught on ring cam. Security footage played on loop on someone's phone. Vanessa in 6-inch pleasers, yanking at the door handle, mascara streaking. Caption: when the side chick realizes the main course took the whole buffet. Laughter rolled like thunder. Marcus's phone buzzed nonstop. Creditors, sponsors pulling out. His mama FaceTiming from the lobby downstairs, demanding answers. He looked small suddenly, tux too big, ego deflated to the size of a raisin. Aaliyah wasn't watching him anymore. She was greeting guests, old clients, new allies, the barista from her favorite coffee shop who DM'd support at 2 a.m. She signed the back of a cocktail napkin for a college student. Build it brick by brick. They can't steal what you own outright. She posed for selfies, diamond flashing, smile reel. Someone asked, "What's next?" She answered without hesitation. Expansion. Harlem. Atlanta. Maybe Accra. Sky's just the basement. The crowd ate it up. Midnight struck. The party shifted gears. Less celebration, more coronation. The DJ transitioned to Afrobeat. Fella horns slicing the air. Aaliyah kicked off her heels, barefoot on the marble, and danced. Not for Marcus, not for the cameras, but for the girl who once cried in a parking lot. Every step claimed space. Every spin rewrote history. Evelyn leaned in. Judge signed the final decree an hour ago. You're free. Aaliyah laughed, the sound bright as breaking dawn. I was never his to free. Marcus was escorted out through a service exit, still yelling about lawsuits. Nobody followed. The rooftop belonged to Aaliyah now. She climbed the small stage one last time. No mic, voice carrying anyway. One more thing. She held up her phone. Live on Instagram. 1.2 million viewers. To every woman who's been cheated on, lied to, counted out, your comeback doesn't need permission. It needs paperwork. She blew a kiss to the lens. Sign your name like it's a throne. The feed exploded. Donations to the Legacy Fund hit $100,000 in 60 seconds. Aaliyah stepped down, gown swirling, and walked to the balcony's edge. The city sprawled beneath her city now. Wind lifted her locks. She slipped the diamond back on, not as a trophy, but as armor. Behind her, the party raged on without Marcus, without drama, just joy and possibility. Someone passed her a fresh flute. She toasted the skyline, to building what they can't break. The camera, someone's iPhone, someone's future, zoomed in on her silhouette against the moon. Text overlay flashed. Plot twist. The deed wasn't just paper. It was freedom. The video ended on her smile, slow motion, unbreakable. Comments poured in. I'm quitting my toxic job tomorrow. Enrolling in real estate school, RN. Diamond bigger than his ego, iconic. Aaliyah never looked back. She didn't need to. The empire was hers. The story was hers. The night was hers. And tomorrow? Tomorrow she'd sign the papers on a penthouse in her name only, wake up to ocean views, and teach her niece how to read a balance sheet before breakfast. The divorce party wasn't an ending. It was the launch party for the rest of her life.